Please all stand and join Thomas Hooper in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The invocation will be given by Professor Wafiq Ayub of the Department of Civil Engineering.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most gracious, I greet you the greetings of all Muslim prophets from Abraham to Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. Unique to all creatures on earth, God has given humans a mind to think and also have a heart. God made it a duty of every human to seek knowledge and elevated those who seek knowledge above all other humans. For as we increase in knowledge, we begin to recognize God in our minds. We believe in God and our hearts become filled of love for God. God also asks us to use our minds in all our lives. The Quran says, قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Say, bring forth your proof if ye are telling the truth. We must use our minds. And God, as we make use of our minds, God have guided us to the good and bad. وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. We showed humans, the good and evil. And ask us to make the right choices. And as we make the right choices, that does not mean we have to look for selfish goodness in our reasons, but we have to choose the best that pleases God most. For as we sacrifice, as we endure because of our sacrifices for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of God, God promises rewards. He says, if you do one good, I'll reward it 10 times for you. And if you do evil, I'll count it only once against you. But at the end, on that day of judgment, God says, for whoever does an atom's worth of good shall find it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil shall find it. May God guide us all to the straight path. Amen.
Please be seated. Faculty, students, parents and relatives, distinguished guests and friends of the university, I am delighted to welcome you to this, the 147th Commencement of the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. This year, we celebrate the 125th anniversary of the founding at Platteville of the first normal school in the state of Wisconsin, the birth of what has become today's University of Wisconsin-Platteville. During these years, more than 29,000 students have received their degrees from us. This afternoon, more than 400 degrees will be conferred. We dedicate today's ceremony to the memories of 3 members of the university community who have passed away in recent months. They are Ms. Lynn Collins, Program Assistant in Housing with 23 years of service, Dr. Glenn Gundy, Professor Emeritus of Chemistry with 34 years of service, and Mr. Vern Thompson, Associate Professor Emeritus of Fine Arts with 30 years of service. They were our colleagues and our friends. Faculty, students, and staff join their families in grieving their loss. The senior valedictory will be delivered by Diane M. Schobert, summa cum laude graduate of the College of Business, Industry, and Communication. Ms. Schobert is a non-traditional student, wife, mother, businesswoman, active member of her community, who has very successfully balanced these responsibilities with her studies at UW-Platteville. Ms. Schobert is a resident of Belmont. She will today receive a Bachelor of Science degree in speech communication with an emphasis in public relations. Among Ms. Schobert's many honors and awards are membership in Phi Kappa Phi, the All-University Honor Society, and being named to the Dean's List for 6 semesters. She has won the Bick College Scholarship, the United Methodist Women's Scholarship, and a Phi Kappa Phi Scholarship. While a student at UWP, Ms. Schobert has been the president of the Student Chapter of Women in Communications and holds membership in the Society for Human Resources Management, the Wisconsin Communication Association, and the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. In 1990, she was selected as a UW System University Relations intern, working closely with the Assistant Vice President for Information Services in Madison. Following graduation, Ms. Schobert hopes to attain a full-time position in media relations and news writing. It's my honor to introduce to you Ms. Diane Schobert.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chancellor Smyrny, Provost and Vice Chancellor Hallgren, deans, distinguished guests, and my fellow graduates. I would like to dedicate my speech today to my family, who have tolerated and supported me in the last 3 years in this journey, and I thank them very much. Imagine with me for a moment the high drama of Olympic competition. Hearts raised high in the joy of victory, heads bowed in the pangs of defeat, hearts pounding in the exhilaration of the deep pride that comes from bringing back to your homeland the highest prize, the Olympic gold medal. Imagine how Olympian Duncan Goodhue must have felt after an accident left him bald and dyslexic. Duncan was mocked by his classmates, and yet he found the strength and courage to seek his one moment in time to achieve the gold medal in the 1980 100-meter breaststroke. Imagine how Joan Benoit must have felt in 1984 as the first Olympic winner of the women's marathon. Now, Joan began running only to strengthen a leg that she had broken in a skiing accident. Yet she found her one moment in time to seek the world's best, to be the world's best. These and many other athletes like them have overcome obstacles or hardships in pursuit of their very personal goal, the gold medal. We're not so different, you and I. We are all Olympians in the competition of life. But unlike the athletes striving to achieve the Olympic gold medal, we here are challenged to seize our moment in time, today, our graduation, to make the most of our opportunities, to strive for excellence in our commitment to a greater society. Every opportunity in life, not just graduations, not just Olympic competitions, can be special moments in time. Today, here in this auditorium, we experience the exhilaration, the joy, and the intensity of the Olympics. Today, I feel as proud as any Olympian has ever felt. This is one moment in time for me. Well, I've focused on my graduation for months now, as many of you know when I started counting down at 100 days. I've been focusing and using the theme song from the 1988 Olympics as my theme song, and I'd like to share the words for that with you. I want one moment in time when I'm more than I thought I could ever be, when all of my dreams are a heartbeat away, and the answers are all up to me. Give me one moment in time when I'm racing with destiny. Then in that one moment in time, I will feel eternity. You're a winner for a lifetime when you seize that one moment in time. Make it shine. Well, our graduation may not be the revered prize of the Olympics, yet we've been training for life and the vast opportunities that lie ahead for each one of us. Today truly is, graduates, our one moment in time to be more than we thought we could be. Our dreams, our opportunities are but just a heartbeat away. And the answers? Yes, they're all up to each one of us. Our challenge is to take command and to take advantage of the opportunities that are facing us today. Opportunities are usually only for a moment, and as they pass by, there's often only a brief time that we have to quickly hold on to them. Generally, the greater the opportunity, the less time we have to hold on. We must take the current as it serves, Shakespeare admonished, or lose our ventures. Today, whether we're graduates, faculty, family, or friends, the opportunities available to each of us challenge us with the potential for public service, community leadership, and the commitment to the spirit of volunteerism. In other words, a chance to make a difference in our society. In April 1990, Ralph Nader was the second in a series of distinguished lecturers here on campus. Some of you were here. Others of you weren't, but I'm sure you know who Ralph Nader is. Renowned lawyer, author, and consumer activist. At one point in his address, Ralph Nader paused dramatically, and he gazed from one end of the auditorium to the other. And then he asked each and every individual in this audience if they really wanted to be a leader for justice, for accomplishment, for strengthening society when they finished their education. In essence, he was asking, who here really wants to make a difference in our society? I was there. I remember what happened. Very few hands were raised. I was sitting in near the front row, and I was wanting to go, yes, and thrust my hand up high and, I want to make a difference. But I could see that very few hands were raised, so I quickly decided not to put mine up. I'm sure there were many people that felt as I did, but also hesitated. Henry Charles Link, an early 20th century author and philosopher, once said, while one person hesitates while feeling inferior, the other person is busy making mistakes, becoming superior. Well, most of us hesitate because we don't want to take a risk. Peter McWilliams, author of the book Life 101, I thought that sounded like a course that might be offered here at Platteville. He says, most people have exactly what they want in life. Not what they think they want, but what they actually want. You see, successful people who have achieved have had a vision of their future, their wants, and they've focused on that vision. And they've also had the personal motivation and courage to do something about seeking that vision. Let me tell you about Jerry Marty. Jerry is a farm boy from Monroe, a 1969 graduate from UW-Platteville. Jerry began his college career here in civil engineering, and soon he switched to the first class in industrial studies with a construction management emphasis. Now, I've never met Jerry, but I called him in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, and he told me, "I always knew I wanted to do something special." He had a dream. His vision? To go to Antarctica. Imagine that, a farm boy from Monroe, Wisconsin, dreaming about going to Antarctica. Now, Jerry said he spent most of his high school and college days dreaming while reading National Geographic magazine. He recalls that most of his high school and college friends thought he was, quote, insane. As a college sophomore, Jerry wrote to National Geographic magazine and asked about research grants. He got no response. As a senior, he wrote again, and this time he asked if they knew of any companies that were sending people to Antarctica. This time he received a response and the names of 3 firms that were hiring for Antarctica. Well, one firm did hire Jerry, and as he put it, he was hired to be the grunt man. He said, "I had to have a degree, but it was a laborer's position, but I got to Antarctica. That was all that counted." Well, they sent him to Byrd Station, and he received 6 months on-the-job training. Shortly after that, Jerry spent his military duty, and then he was sent back to Antarctica for 2 years. While he was there, Jerry worked on the design, procurement, and budget for a future research facility that was going to be built there. Throughout the years, Jerry has worked in many remote places, such as Micronesia in North Borneo, Saudi Arabia, and Alaska. Currently, Jerry is the project director for the new Los Angeles World Trade Center. Imagine if Jerry Marty had not written that second letter to National Geographic magazine. Imagine also the loss if Jerry had not taken the initiative to write to the 3 firms that were hiring for Antarctica. Jerry focused on his dreams and the opportunities that led to those dreams. In essence, he sought his own answers. He sought the answers to his dreams. His dreams were just a heartbeat away, a letter of request to a magazine. And each step brought him closer to his destiny, in his case, Antarctica. Jerry is truly a winner for a lifetime. Jerry also told me he believes that a person can do anything he or she wants to do in life, no matter what it is, no matter what anyone says or criticizes or ridicules. It's your vision. It's worth it. Go for it. That's what Jerry Marty did. That's what most of the Olympic athletes that we admire have done. And yes, that's what each one of us graduates here today can do. As we have seen in the lives of Duncan Goodhue, Joan Benoit, and Jerry Marty, the drama yet unfolding in our lives will certainly contain heartbreaks or handicaps, along with achievements and successes, if we grasp the moment in time that leads to our vision for tomorrow. Think about it for a minute. What is your vision for your future? How will each and every one of you seize the opportunity, the one moment in time that will provide great possibilities to each of us for service for others. If we do what we truly believe in while we're providing service to others, we will make a positive contribution to our society. And the level of that personal contribution will determine the level of our personal reward, our personal gold medal. But in order to achieve that reward, we have to be prepared to take a step, to take action that makes a difference. Ralph Nader is not a personal friend of mine, and I didn't ask his permission to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Ever since that April day, this auditorium has known the emptiness of hesitation. Today, I believe it's important as we consider the magnitude of today, this, our one moment in time, and the challenges and opportunities that lie before us. I wonder, fellow graduates, are we ready to take one step forward toward our destiny? To move within a heartbeat of that dream, to become leaders, motivators, and role models for the next generation. And so I ask each of you, as Ralph Nader asked us in this same auditorium, how many of us truly want to be leaders for justice? Who here in this graduating class wants to make a difference in our society? How many of us will really command this moment and become a leader? Let those who would like to make a difference and make a commitment raise your hand. Never again will this auditorium know the emptiness of hesitation. Rather, now it is witness to the exhilaration of our dreams and our expectations that are only a heartbeat away as each one of us steps forward one step closer to our destiny, our dreams. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schobert. The commencement address will be delivered by Dr. Richard Simon Hansen, Professor of Religion at Luther College and the first Wilgus Distinguished Lecturer at UW-Platteville. Dr. Hansen received his Bachelor of Arts from Luther College, a Master of Theology from Luther Theological Seminary, and his PhD from Harvard University. He is the author of 9 books and more than 30 articles on Middle Eastern religions, archaeology, and ancient languages. He speaks and reads several languages, including Hebrew and Arabic. Dr. Hansen's many honors include a National Foundation for the Humanities Fellowship, the Staley Foundation Distinguished Scholar Lecturers at Augustana College and Dana College, and the C. Ray Dobbins Lectureship at Bethel College. He has been a member of the Luther College faculty since 1963. As the Wilgus Lecturer, Professor Hansen has taught 2 courses this fall, and in addition, being also an accomplished actor, he has given 5 performances, dramatizing and illuminating biblical characters and their times. It is my high honor and rare privilege to introduce to you Dr. Richard Simon Hansen. Richard.
Diane Schobert and all your fellow graduates, William Chmerney, Chancellor Chmerney, and colleagues on the platform and out here, whom I have enjoyed getting to know this fall, parents, relatives, and friends, for what is happening today, I congratulate you all. Now, there's one woman in this audience, fourth row and to my left, who started out her educational career in another college, and the first speech she had to listen to was delivered by the very person who is giving the last speech she has to listen to for her Bachelor of Arts degree. Amy, this wasn't planned. I'm going to move from the sublime to the ridiculous, from the Olympics to a small athletic sort of setting in Wisconsin high school athletics. Imagine, if you will, a farm boy in Wisconsin, I don't think that's hard to imagine here, who grew up probably as familiar with the ways of dairy cattle and collie dogs and chickens as with human beings, who discovered in the daily errand of getting the dairy herd back from the fields that he sort of liked to run with the dog, which the dog enjoyed also. I mean, dogs don't like slowing down for people. Have you noticed how often they have to, and they're always pulling you ahead? Well, in all this, he discovered he sort of liked running, and so once in a while he'd take off on the gravel roads and run a few miles and come back and just enjoyed this. It felt good. He went to a one-room sort of grade school, which I suppose some people here remember, a real sociological wonder, and boarded a school bus and went off to a high school and was introduced to the world of competitive athletics. There was football and softball. They didn't have baseball there. There was boxing, which later gave way to wrestling, and basketball, and there was track and field, and he thought, I shall be a distance runner. Now, it so happened the longest distance that was available in inter-school athletics, high school athletics then in the state of Wisconsin, was the mile run. So he got on the squad as a miler. And the coach was a kindly fellow who didn't like to remove boys from the team no matter what, and so he stayed on the squad and ran in meet after meet, consistently getting last place. But the coach said, that's all right, just keep going, sometime you might place. And then came that meet in which there was this lanky lad, who had established the record in the state of Wisconsin, and this was his senior year, and everybody was waiting for him to break his own record. He was a terrific miler. And this lad was placed right next to him to run. And all of a sudden he got this inspiration. If I could just keep up with him, I'd probably come in second. So they took off, and he ran his very best, and he kept up till about halfway around the track. And suddenly he noticed that for every 2 strides he was taking, this other fellow was taking 1. And he said, this is twice as much work for me as it is for him. And that put a little bit of discouragement into him, and so he began to fall back, his chest causing him a good bit of pain. And then they started coming by him. Pretty soon there were 2 in front, and 3 and 4 and 5, and he was number 6. Now, in those days, in the conference meets in Wisconsin, in the high school, there were only 5 places awarded. And so coming around the last time, he was number 6, and the coach was there and said, don't quit. He thought, all right, I won't quit. It hurts, but I won't. And about a quarter of a way from the end, the 5th runner collapsed on the track, and he earned the only point he ever earned in high school athletics. And it felt very good. Now, I have a suspicion that that's what it's like for lots of folks graduating today. You aren't number 1 or even number 2 or number 3 or 4, but you made it. You scored. You got here. And I don't think I need to say it pays not to quit. Now, I have a hunch there are a few who already quit a couple times before they made it this time, but that's fine. That's fine. What matters is now. When I was at this moment in my career and had just walked across the stage and gotten that BA diploma, one of my uncles said something to me that I'm sure he thought was the appropriate thing to say. He said, "Well, now you're ready for the real world." And I immediately didn't like what he said. I thought, do you mean I haven't been working up till now? You mean this hasn't been competitive? You see, there isn't an awful lot of difference between what my uncle called the real world and the academic world you've been in, especially for those of you who have also been working on the side 10, 20, 30 hours a week, or raising a family. I mean, if you haven't been in that real world already, you're never going to get there. No, there isn't one great big line you cross from college into what that uncle of mine called the real world. In fact, for some of you, it might be a bit easier from here on. But there's something else that should be disturbing about that, and it does disturb me now. The truth is, we're at a point in our history when we're all having to be introduced to a real world that we forgot about. That the world of gross national product and the world of earning and spending money, the world of competition, has now to recognize a world even more real that was there long before human civilizations were formed, long before we invented the kinds of lifestyles we have now, long before we started acting this way, long before humans even appeared on the scene. A world we ignored, a world we have exploited, a world we thought could tolerate just about anything we could do. And we're just beginning to understand that whatever we do to that world comes back to us, either in the water that we drink, or the air that we breathe, or the space that we have less of, or the resources that are diminishing. We are now at a point where we all must come to terms with a far greater real world. And I predict that in the decades ahead, there will be significant changes in the way we do things, the way we do business, the way we govern people, significant changes in our sense of values, significant changes in our lifestyle that we haven't imagined yet. That we're going to have to be far more flexible, far more imaginative than we have ever before been in human history. And that if we don't make those changes, we are headed for disaster. As far back as 180 years ago, we began having modern prophets who warned us of the changes that would have to be made. Some of us don't even know who they are or were. And now we are at a point where at least educated people can no longer sit idly by and expect these things to fix themselves. All the resources we have as educated people are going to have to come to bear to solve problems that were created by yesterday's solutions and yesterday's dreams and yesterday's ideals. Because now we have seen the costly side of that. And the other side of the ledger is telling us we have to make some great changes. And we're going to have to make them very, very fast. As I said to some of you before, you are going to have to enter jobs, many of you, that haven't been invented yet. And we're going to have to teach courses that haven't been invented yet also. Now that may sound a little bit heavy and somber, and yet it means if we thought the challenges were gone, they're not. The greatest challenges, and you might as well call that opportunities, lie ahead of us. Life for the human race is not going to be boring from here on in. And if you're bored, the cure is there. But that's not really what I'd like to say. I thought for about 3 weeks before I figured out what I'd really like to say to this graduating class. Now you're at the end of something and at the beginning of something else. At least I hope you're at the beginning of something else. And what I'd really like to say is this: may you have more beginnings than endings. Now maybe that doesn't make sense. You know, it really shouldn't. Your beginning was, let's say, your conception. And your ending will be when you bow out into a coffin. And if there's one beginning there and one ending there, there should be about as many in between. There should be an equal number of beginnings and endings. But I'm going to suggest there don't have to be. That if there are the same number of endings and beginnings, you're not going to have a real exciting life. That an exciting life goes with having more beginnings than endings. I once got acquainted with a remarkable man by intention. I had seen a film, a documentary film done by the Canadian government to honor one of its great citizens, Chet Running. Now, Chet Running had been born and raised in China, son of missionary parents who had been Americans, that is, U.S. And when he grew up, he became a Canadian, and he was part of the Canadian government in its legislature. And he became Canada's ambassador to India and Canada's ambassador to Red China. And then he became the man who organized the first effort to get the North and South Vietnamese together and get the Americans to the bargaining table. And the Canadians made a film about him when he was 85 years of age. Remarkably vital man. And in this film, he shared his philosophy of life. He said, "Live to learn and live till you die." I thought, that's really interesting. Now, I had a friend, an old college roommate, who was teaching at the very university that this fellow helped found up in Camrose, Canada, and this is where the guy was retired, though he hadn't really. And so I went to visit my old roommate, partly to meet that remarkable man who was then just about 90 years of age. His wife had died 20 years earlier. He was fixing for himself in his little apartment. He was actively involved in the campus. He was doing all sorts of things. And when I met him, I thought, what a vital man. What an energetic man. This guy never quits. 2.5 years later, he died fixing supper in his kitchen. What a glorious way to go. Now suppose, you see, that he had said on the day of his graduation, "Well, I'm done learning. Ain't gonna learn no more. Learned enough." And you could make an end of learning. You see, you can make an end of anything anytime you want. You can even make an end of life. The other night at the Madrigal dinner, there was this silly little toast to those over 80. "May I never get as old as you." I thought, well, I'd have turned around and said, if you're lucky, you won't. You know, if you're lucky, maybe you won't make it to 30 or 40. Well, some people exist that long, but quit sooner. See, sometimes endings are our choice. Maybe most of the time we have to choose to end and fail maybe to begin. About 30 years ago, when I had a job in St. Paul, Minnesota that required that I become acquainted with the ways of some of the high school kids, I visited a high school in what was the poorest section of St. Paul, and I just kind of listened in the corridors. I had permission from the administration, and I heard a group of girls, approximately 15 years of age, talking excitedly with each other about life's immediate plans. And they were talking about boys and talking about getting pregnant and how if you get pregnant, it's better to get pregnant with a boy who's over 20, and especially if he's already got a job because he can support you. And if you're lucky, he'll marry you. And if you're not lucky, well, you can get ADC. I thought, this is their goal in life, to get pregnant and get married or get ADC. And what if they reach it? And what then? There are a lot of goals in life that are attainable. Watch out. They can make an end of life, or at least a part of life. Our society is very, very goal-oriented. Have you noticed that? And I think it's a dangerous frame of mind. There's another way to live that isn't goal-oriented and that makes beginnings happen without endings. Let's suppose that your great-great-grandparents homesteaded a farm down here somewhere. And they got a little tired and they passed the farm on to your great-grandparents, and they got old enough to quit farming, and they passed it on to your grandparents and your parents, and it didn't really end. And it doesn't. The whole business of farming doesn't end any more than the business of living ends. They just sort of step out and pass it on to somebody else. And it's like that in the work world too. You'll go out and you get a job. And maybe after 3 years you'll say, I think I'll switch to another job. There's an opportunity over here in Chicago. And you won't make an end of what you were doing. You'll just step out and somebody else will step in, and you'll step in where somebody else stepped out, and the job will go on. And it can be like that. There can be more beginnings than endings. And life should be like that. That old guy up in Canada, he hadn't finished living when he died. So maybe it wasn't the end. It wasn't the end of life. It wasn't the end of living. Just sort of bowed out. Now, I think if there can be more beginnings than endings, life will be exciting and it won't become dull. Because there's all sorts of challenge out there, all sorts of opportunity, and it isn't even all out there. It's right in your own backyard and in your own home. You see, life leads to life, and the process goes on. A generation becomes another generation, becomes another generation. Biologists know most what we mean, but the process goes on. And you're part of a process. In the process itself, there are more beginnings than endings. To quote a famous teacher of old, a grain of wheat falls into the ground, seems to die, but it doesn't. It just becomes life multiplied. And any human life can be that. It can become life multiplied. A student asked me one day, think about dying? I said, no. Well, what happens when you die? I said, I don't know for sure if I'll die. I've already planted my genes and my kids around, and I've got grandchildren, and so my genetic pool is guaranteed. And I've got students, and some of them take my ideas and do something more with them, and once in a while I get a letter back and I see it's going on. Yeah, there are more beginnings than endings, and that's what I mean when I say, may you have more beginnings than endings.
Mr. Dennis Pratt, Vice President of the UW-Platteville Alumni Association, will now announce the awards of alumni life memberships.
Thank you, Chancellor Schmerney. On behalf of the 125th Birthday University of Wisconsin-Platteville Alumni Association, it is indeed my pleasure to congratulate you and your families on your graduation today. As a part of that congratulations, I have been instructed by the Alumni Association Board of Directors to award each graduate here today a complimentary one-year membership in the UW-Platteville Alumni Association. It is our hope that 1 year from now you will decide to permanently join the Alumni Association in support of this great university. The UW-Platteville Alumni Association has also traditionally recognized several graduates for their outstanding academic and professional achievements by awarding them life memberships in the association. I ask you to hold your applause until I introduce all those 5 recipients for this award. And I ask the recipients to please stand and remain standing until all names are listed. Janice Anderson, she has a major in industrial engineering. She comes from Newark, Delaware. Heidi Benish has a degree in mathematics. She comes from Bloomington, Wisconsin. Jody Hauser has a degree in physical education from Darlington, Wisconsin. Tim Strebe has a degree in soil and crop science from Minong, Wisconsin. And Monica Temperley, a degree in business administration from Madison, Wisconsin. Congratulations to each one of you, and best of luck in the future to you and to the rest of the graduates today.
We're extremely proud of all of our graduates and will shortly recognize each of them. However, I would first like to take this opportunity to recognize a very special group of graduates that have distinguished themselves throughout their academic careers. These are the undergraduate students graduating with academic honors, and they are designated with an asterisk in the commencement program, and they're wearing their gold honor stoles. Will those individuals who have achieved highest honors and are graduating summa cum laude please rise and remain standing? These students have earned a cumulative grade point average of 3.75 to a perfect 4.0. Will those students who have achieved honors and are graduating magna cum laude please rise and remain standing? These students have earned a cumulative grade point average from 3.5 to 3.74. Please join me in recognizing the accomplishments of this very special group of graduates. Now, will the remaining candidates for baccalaureate and master's degrees please stand? That means the rest of you. Hey. Mr. Chancellor, as Provost, I certify that the candidates standing before you have completed the curricula prescribed by the university faculty for the degrees of Master of Science in Education or Agricultural Sciences or Industrial Technology, or the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, and are entitled to receive their degrees from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. I therefore recommend that these candidates be granted the appropriate diplomas for the curricula completed.
Upon this certification by the Provost that you have completed the requirements established by the university faculty for the various degrees, and with the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin system, I am pleased to confer upon you the degree which you have earned, together with all of the rights, privileges, and perquisites attending thereto. Congratulations. Please be seated. Will the deans now present the degree recipients?
Will the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science from the College of Agriculture please stand? Mr. Chancellor, as Dean of the College of Agriculture and representing the college faculty, I present to you the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science from the College of Agriculture. Will the recipients please come forward?
Amber L. Vickers. James E. Anderson. Jeffrey C. Baranchek. Daniel Richard Belk. Randy Allen Dampman. Christopher F. Derrimer. Julie Ann Digman. Keith B. Doherty. Tim J. Fan. Chad M. Jorgensen. John August Heinberg. Stephen J. Hoffman. James E. Hollenberger. Joey F. Kennecker. Kenneth D. Nice. Anita M. Rip. Kimberly K. Rowe. Timothy A. Strebe. Paul John Vondra. Matthew Ray Walter. Mary Jo Webster.
Congratulations on your successful ending, and I wish you the best in your new beginning. You are prepared well. I know you will do well. Please be seated.
Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from the College of Arts and Sciences please stand? Mr. Chancellor, as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and representing the college faculty, I present to you the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from the College of Arts and Sciences. Will the recipients please come forward?
Melanie Montour. Brian Blaine Bechtold. Robert John Belkin. Heidi Francis Benish. Kevin John Boren. Heath Allen Bowman. David Leonard Burklaw. Leslie A. Damshin. Eric D. Destick. Keith Larry Dirks. David E. Dyson. Bart Allen Gary. Sarah Jane Harvey. Daniel J. Herlishka. Linda May Bowden Jeggerlaner. Amy Colleen Jensen. Jeffrey Aaron Jerdee. Amy Elizabeth Killian. Glennis Elaine Cook. Daniel Andrew Kashuti. Sonia Ann Kraus. Timothy A. Lipinski. Jennifer J. Lovell. Carl C. McNutt. Mary A. Metzger. Anita Marie Thompson Moffett. Douglas James Munch. Trevor J. Nails. Melinda J. Payne. Paul M. Picard. Damon T. Piscatelli. Chawali P. Puchaninion. Jill C. Rundy. Jennifer Lynn Rupert. Breck Lyle Schneider. Brian A. Schopf. Jean Marie Seipel. Holly Ann Seitz. Melissa Renee Smith. Blaine Lewis Spicer. Harry Taylor. Douglas Henry Timmerman. Kirsten Magdalena Wagner. Matthew Peter Walsh. Mark P. Wilkinson. Carrie Ann Winch. William Paul Wands.
Yeah, I don't know. Best wishes to you. Congratulations again, and please be seated.
Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from the College of Business, Industry, and Communication please stand? Mr. Chancellor, as Dean of the College of Business, Industry, and Communication, and representing the college faculty, I am pleased to present the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from the College of Business, Industry, and Communication. Will the recipients please come forward as your name is called?
Diane Marie Schobert. Gary Stephen Nettesheim. Stacy Marguerite Hampton. Lisa Marie Ashbrook. Kenneth A. Atnip. Michelle M. Basney. David Allen Berglund. Stephen Michael Bessler. Kevin Scott Bigsby. Kimberly Marie Bown. Jennifer Lee Budden. Perry Martin Birds. Bruce Stephen Burry. Kurt A. Byfield. Dennis R. Carroll. Ratanatip Shonwerarong. Stephen John Collins. Ernest H. Coppernall, Jr. Thomas G. Cromwell. Kathy Cunningham. Greg Joseph DeGrave. Virginia Lois Dimmick. Lori Ann Edgington Dome. Abby Colleen Dressler. Brenda S. Erdahl. Vicky L. Ferry. Steve Robert Freund. Sean Martin Fitzgerald Friesian. Ryan Joseph Fritz. Stephen Daniel Gehrman. Wayne Donald Gazer. Joseph J. Glodusky. James William Goonan. John Allen Grower. Christy Lynn Grochon. Kevin L. Grotsky. Denise Elizabeth Grumstrup. Rob David Hagan. Tim J. Hansen. Heidi Joe Hawthorne. Kevin Wayne Helmide. Mark Stephen Hoffman. Patrick E. Hardy. Kevin Keith Haupt. Todd Charles Huffman. Robert D. Jeter III. Jennifer M. Joyner. Cynthia C. Youngers. Sharon L. Keegan. Tracy John Kenyon. Jill Ida Kohlenberg. Sigmund David Colano. Jacqueline Ann Krieger. Mark A. Keel. Susan Ann Lobbs. Cynthia Diane Larson. Jeffrey Ward Leach. Kathy Jean Lee. Gary Robert Leibfried. Patrick John Link. Timothy J. Lovell. Aaron Joseph Luther. James B. Marty. Richard William McDaniel. Jason J. McDermott. Nancy May Maltreater. Christian David Miller. Michelle Lee Mall. Brian Dale Muhlenkamp. Michael J. Muller. Christine Marie Nelson. Scott Wade Newell. Allison Ann Ostrowski. Kristen Renee Parkinson. Douglas Dallas Perot. Brian Charles Peschel. Susan Ellen Peterson. G. Allen Pierce. Todd E. Plemer. Timothy Michael Preet. Melinda K. Rockwell. Angel Rodriguez Alonso. Laura Lynn Ross. Brian A. Rudzer. Karen Marie Shank. Michael Robert Schifferl. Larry Herbert Schraffer. Jeffrey I. Schultz. Troy David Schumann. Thomas Scott Shaver. David Michael Shumway. Richard G. Singles. Dean A. Spears. Kevin M. Stallsberg. Tina Roxanne Steinman. Debbie L. Stoppenbach. Marlo D. Stroud. Ruth Ann Summers. Monica J. Temperley. Tamberlin L. Vanoy. Michael Lyle Vesperman. Jeffrey Morris Vivian. Scott A. Volz. Douglas James Walby. Brian Robert Wallace. Brian Paul Weevil. Thomas H. Welch. Edward M. Werner. Deanne Carol Wickler. Sean C. Wilson. John Thomas Woida. Gary Lee Wittrick. Kerr Zhang. Michael Allen Zakow. Todd L. Ziegler. Stephen C. Zilke. William Roger Zwicky.
Congratulations, best wishes. I'll see you at homecoming. Be seated.
Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from the College of Education please stand? Mr. Chancellor, as Dean of the College of Education and representing the college faculty, I present to you the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from the College of Education. Will the recipients please come forward?
Jody James Hauser. Darla M. Longrek. Michelle Durchi Aquino. Bruce Robert Birdsell. Janet A. Block. Tamara Ann Boyle. Catherine K. Christensen. Patricia Renee Gates. Linda M. Gerlich. Celine Gertler. Sherry Ann Glab. David J. Hack. Tina J. Halverson Trankel. Tamara Jean Hamilton. David Brian Hirschbrunner. Rebecca Ann Holtz. Tracy Lynn James. Monique Marianne Lulinski. Carolyn K. McCarthy. Carla C. Miles. Corey A. Olson. Peter Christopher Petrocello. Jody Marie Ruff. Gina M. Schiffman. Patricia Jane Stevens. Peter John Stevens. Elizabeth Margaret Talley. Sandra A. Wagley. Julie Francis Zweifel.
Congratulations and best wishes. Please be seated.
Will the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science from the College of Engineering please stand? Mr. Chancellor, as Dean of the College of Engineering and representing the college faculty, I present to you the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Science from the College of Engineering. Will the recipients please come forward?
Janice E. Anderson. Michael Paul Bacelars. Jens K. Berg. Michael Allen Bisbach. Jaime Magdalene Bardo Jr. Paul W. Brower. Scott L. Bronkhorst. Craig Allen Burns. Richard James Burns. Glenn Allen Buzzy. Richard James Carey. Chris A. Carter. To Chan. Lynn Arthur Christensen. Kenneth Scott Coonan. Stephen Dale Cracker. Mark Andrew Dalen. Christopher P. Daly. Janine Marie Dick. Lee G. Eggers. Paul Anthony Fontecchio. Peter Lee Forster. John G. Gottenbein. Angela Winifred Grant. Jim C. Graves. Thomas Alban Hala. Linda Sue Hanna. John R. Hansen. Paul W. Hassler. Lori Sue Hallwick. Kevin Paul Huget. Kimberly R. Houston. Anita Marie Janko. Dennis L. Johnson. Brian Lee Kolb. David Joseph Kranick. Chi K. Christian William Lane. Chad Allen Larson. David Patrick Leary. Marie Sue Leiden. James Kenneth Matchett. Gary Martin Metzer. Wayne J. Muhlenbach. Christopher L. Morowski. John W. Nelson. Michael Lee Ott. Daniel R. Parent. Kenneth A. Pigsley. Todd David Pullman. Michael R. Riscard. Michael Roth. Regina C. Rosen. Richard Gale Rugg. Kathleen Marie Salins. Sander Edward Samu. Scott W. Samaro. Wayne A. Shackle. Daryl Lewis Simonson. Jeffrey Lee Sorensen. Jeffrey L. Stelter. Craig James Treadway. Daniel Joseph Tucker. Jack Valier. Lang C. Vang. Roy Francis Van Geem. Stephen Paul Van Hefty. Dustin James Vorpal. Lou Vu. Keith R. Weston.
Congratulations, engineers, and best wishes. Please be seated.
Will the recipients of the master's degree please rise? Mr. Chancellor, as Dean of the School of Graduate Studies and representing the graduate faculty, I present to you the recipients of the degrees of Master of Science and Master of Science in Education from the School of Graduate Studies. Will the recipients please come forward?
Carol Schindler Brand. Judy E. James. Mary Pat Kunkel. Carl Chapin Logeman. Nancy Osterndorf Merwin. Margaret J. Mills. Sue A. Ringelstetter Stein. Mary Karen Rundle. Ruth Lois Rundle. Peg Marguerite Ryan. Carol J. Sedgwick. Julie M. Toll Gents. Cynthia Lise Weber. Deborah A. Wayinger. Therese A. Wood.
Congratulations, best wishes. Please be seated.
This ceremony would not have been possible without the time and effort so generously given by the University Commencement Committee. The members of the committee are Bob Acton, Balachandran, Barb Dawes, Ed Deneen, Tundi Pham, Daniel Fairchild, Dolores Rock Hutchison, Christy Lang, Lisa Riedel, Carol Sands, Frederick Tufte, and the chair, Joanne Wilson. A most distinguished member of the faculty and administration, Lloyd Linden, served as commencement marshal. The names of the graduates were ably read by Ed Deneen, University Registrar. Professor Barry Ellis, lead singer Thomas Hooper, and the UW-Platteville Symphony Band deserve our appreciation as well for the music which accompanies this ceremony. Will the members of the committee, Mr. Deneen, Dean Linden, and Professor Ellis, Mr. Hooper, and the members of the Symphony Band please stand and be recognized. As we say farewell to our graduates, I would like to give them the opportunity to recognize those who have guided them through 4, or in some cases more, years of college with gentle prodding and friendly assistance. Will the faculty please rise and be recognized by the graduates? There are yet others who have provided not only encouragement, moral support, and financial assistance, but care and love as well. Will the parents, grandparents, husbands or wives, children and grandchildren of the graduates please stand and be recognized? Please turn to the last page in your commencement program. Will you please stand and join Tom Hooper in singing the Alma Mater?
Alma Mater, grand and glorious, we shall ever be victorious. Loyal are we to you, dear Platteville, pioneers e'er will be. We shall win her honor. Praise be ever on her. Onward, upward to the fore. None shall falter evermore. Alma Mater, grand and glorious, wrought my loyalty.
God created all humans equal. In the holy book, the Quran, God says, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min nafsin wahida. O mankind, we have created you from the same soul, meaning we are all equal. God could have created us exact replicas of each other. God could have made us all one nation, but he says, O mankind, we have created you from a male and female, and we made you nations and tribes so that you may come to know each other. The purpose of God's creation is to worship God. God says in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لَيَعْبُدُونَ. Only I created jinns and humans, but to worship Allah. So when we stand in front of God on the day of judgment, it will not matter our color. It will not matter whether we are white, black, yellow, or green. It will not matter if we are fat or thin, tall or short. What would matter is our deeds. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all prophets said, there is no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab except the righteousness, except the good deeds. That's how you distinguish between one person and another. Prophet asked people around him, could you tell me who is the bankrupt? They said, oh, you prophet, it's the one who cannot afford materialistic things. He said, no. The bankrupt is the person who in this life have done good and evil, and on the day of judgment begin to pay for his evil deeds by the good deeds, and then he runs out of good deeds. That is the bankrupt. May all our deeds be righteous. May all our intentions be pure for the sake of Allah. Amen.
Today's commencement ceremony has been, as you've seen, videotaped and will be televised, however, only once, and that's this evening, tonight at 7 p.m. over cable channel TV5. The university is unable to provide copies of the videotape. Those who want to have a copy should arrange to make their own this evening. Please remain seated until the faculty have left the gymnasium. The graduates will remain to greet their parents, relatives, and friends.